My parents didn't embrace my marriage as I'd wished, shunning me for 5 years until they saw a 5th anniversary social media post mentioning our children. Should I reconnect with them or keep them at bay? My spouse, a 30-year-old man, was once my boss. Roughly 9 years back, I began working as his aide. For about 2.5 years, we suppressed our mutual feelings until we finally succumbed. We promptly informed HR, who transferred me to another role, and everything was handled transparently from the moment we started dating. A year later, I became pregnant, and my spouse and I chose to tie the knot. Though we'd only been a couple for roughly 18 months, we knew each other deeply, were in love, cohabitating, and expecting a child. We were aware of how it might appear, but I was leaving the company anyway due to conflicts with my new manager, so we didn't expect issues, except with my parents. They, a 62-year-old man and a 57-year-old woman, have always been overly protective, so I anticipated they'd disapprove of me dating my boss. I hadn't disclosed this to them, but I had to if I wanted them at our wedding. We opted for near total honesty, explaining how our relationship was professional until it wasn't, how we immediately notified HR when it turned romantic, and how he never exploited me. We shared our marriage plans and invited them, omitting the pregnancy, as I feared overwhelming them with too much at once. I was about 4 months pregnant at the wedding, so my bump was concealed by a loose-fitting gown. The ceremony went smoothly, though my mother pulled me aside before it started to ask if I was certain, to which I affirmed I was. My parents seemed to accept it. The ceremony and reception were at separate locations, requiring travel between them, but my parents never showed up at the reception. I called them, but they didn't answer. My sibling reached out, and they told him they were heading home, citing exhaustion and unease. I don't recall their exact excuse, but it boiled down to discomfort. I tried contacting them post-wedding, only to find I was blocked on all platforms except email. I sent a lengthy message stating I was an adult who made a mature decision and hoped they'd respect it someday. 5 years passed without a word from them. My spouse and I rarely use social media, but I recently shared a 5th anniversary post mentioning our 2 children and a 3rd on the way. Within a month, my parents left a voicemail, saying they saw the post, were unaware of their grandchildren, and now wished to meet them. I haven't replied, despite their follow-up messages asking why I'm silent. I'm torn, but my instinct says 5 years is too long, and their interest seems focused on the kids, not on accepting my life choices or marriage. Yet, I wonder if I'm being unfair, as my sibling suggests, since my email invited them to reconnect if they could respect my decisions. And now I'm imposing a retroactive deadline. Edit. I couldn't weave this in naturally, but my spouse isn't Caucasian. I am, as are my parents. I don't believe this is about race or that they're prejudiced, nor does my spouse, and we're puzzled why they'd want to meet our biracial kids if they were bigoted, but this detail still bothers me. Should I contact them? If so, how could we rebuild trust? Update. I requested a conversation yesterday. We were on a video call within an hour, involving my parents, my spouse, and me. They asked to meet the children, and I replied that they might eventually and proved they'd be positive influences. They offered to read a letter they claimed to have written on my wedding day. It expressed discomfort with me marrying my ex-supervisor, believing he'd exploited me, so they left before the reception to avoid causing a scene. They added they still supported me despite their issues with him. They said they intended to send this the day after the wedding, but my email about respecting my choices shamed them into silence. Seeing my anniversary post made them realize how much they'd missed and how they didn't want to lose more time. Then my father lashed out, using a derogatory term for someone with dark skin to describe my spouse. My mother tried to deflect, but I ended the call. They've since sent multiple messages claiming the slur wasn't reflective of prejudice and that he wouldn't have said it around the kids, so they should still meet them. For 5 years, I wondered why my marrying my boss warranted such a drastic cutoff. Now I know they're simply bigoted. It's almost a relief. If it were just about the boss dynamic, I might have empathized and considered reconciliation. But this makes it clear. I won't expose my biracial children to prejudiced people. Insightful remarks. User hopeful. Journey commented, "These are folks who know the agony of losing a child yet chose to discard another." User Mark V responded, "I wager they think they lost both kids through no fault of their own. If they blame themselves, it's for not raising her properly." User Luna Bright added, "I'm certain they view it as her spouse stealing her from them." Another user noted, "I bet they only want to check if the kids look light-skinned before committing." They added, "If they're so opposed to the husband's darker skin, they'll likely be unkind to the kids if they share his complexion." User Swiftwave replied, "My spouse is biracial. Her white grandmother called her the tinted grandchild. Her other grandmother called her the pale grandchild. She feels unwelcome at both family gatherings." Next tale. I'm leaving my spouse tomorrow, and I'm thrilled. From the moment our marriage was official, things spiraled downward. I, a 45-year-old man, and my wife, 44, have been wed for a decade. We dated for 6 years prior, and I faced pressure to propose from my parents, and her. Something in my gut warned me against it, but I dismissed it as nerves and pushed forward. We married, and almost instantly things deteriorated. On our honeymoon, she complained endlessly about the hotel not being luxurious enough. In the months that followed, she demanded a new home, a new vehicle, and constant gifts, jewelry, purses. Nothing satisfied her. It felt like once she had the ring, the focus shifted from me to what I could provide. I'm a physician with a solid income, but not enough to sustain the lifestyle she craves. We no longer share intimacy, laughter, or meaningful conversations, only discussions about finances. We have no children. She wanted them before marriage, but later changed her mind. Our house feels like a sterile display, devoid of warmth, joy, or comfort. I despise it. I resent her. I'm a 45-year-old doctor with barely enough savings for 3 months. I want to retire eventually and enjoy life. I've rented a modest apartment in a less upscale area with flat-pack furniture ready to assemble. The lease on the luxury car she insisted I get ends next month, and I'll replace it with a pre-owned hybrid. I'm starting counseling next week. My divorce lawyer assures me our prenup protects me from alimony. I plan to leave my high-paying, high-stress job for one with fewer hours within the year. I'm going to ask out the friendly barista who chats with me daily. I'll tell my wife tomorrow. I expect tears, pleas, and demands for therapy. I'm uninterested. This was never right, and I regret only now realizing it. I'm sorry I wasted so much time married to someone because I thought it was expected. I'm exhilarated. Update. Wow. I didn't expect my post to gain so much attention. I was just venting and anticipated a few supportive comments. Since many asked for an update, here it is. Normally, I wake up and go for a run or bike ride. While I'm out, my wife rises, dresses, and makes a smoothie or something. This morning, I paced the kitchen, mentally rehearsing my speech. When she came downstairs, I felt strangely calm, not panicked, but not apprehensive either. I said I needed to talk. She mumbled an acknowledgement, eyes on the coffee maker. Then I said it. I was leaving and wanted a divorce. We hadn't been happy for ages, and I felt she didn't value me or my emotional needs. Immediately, she began deflecting. She sobbed that I no longer buy her gifts, don't support her enough, and don't care about her happiness. I reminded her I suggested therapy over a year ago, which she agreed to but then avoided with excuses. I mentioned her disregarding the budget we'd agreed on. I explained how her dismissals hurt when I tried sharing my feelings. Her crying intensified, along with pleas to fix things, try therapy, and promises to improve. It unfolded as I predicted, and I felt nothing. I no longer care. Whatever affection I had for her is gone, and her tears might as well have been from a distant relative for all I connected with them. Eventually, I grew tired and left. She's been bombarding my phone with calls and texts, angry, pleading, threatening. Her mother and mine called too, but I briefly spoke to my mother, calmly explaining that I regretted she didn't hear it from me. But my wife was draining me financially and emotionally, and I was done. She was unexpectedly understanding. I'm now in my new apartment. I set up a mattress and bought bedding from a discount store. I ate takeout curry at the counter and watched a show on my laptop. I have what I need for now. My wife will be served divorce papers tomorrow. I keep waiting for regret, but it hasn't come. I feel unburdened, like my future is suddenly open. I'll travel, try new eateries, and take a job that fulfills me instead of just paying well. Despite online skepticism, I'll ask out the barista, as she's age-appropriate, works at her family's shop, and I can distinguish professional politeness from genuine interest. Cheers all. I'm grabbing a drink and strolling my new neighborhood. Note on the barista comments. Since many are concerned about me asking out the barista, assuming she's just doing her job, I'll clarify. I didn't include this initially, as it wasn't relevant to the divorce. I met her a year ago. She's 30. I don't wear a wedding ring due to frequent hand-washing at work. A few months after meeting, she invited me to a local food festival. I explained I was married, and she was embarrassed. Since then, we've had a playful banter where she teases, "Still married?" I plan to respond, "Not for long," and see where it goes. I appreciate the concern and would likely say the same without context, but I assure you I'm not misreading signals. Notable comments? User Joyful Split shared, "When my ex and I divorced, we had to switch utilities in person. The clerk, shocked, said we looked so happy. We replied, 'Exactly, happy to be done.'" User TruthSeeker99 commented, "I want a divorce. You don't care about my happiness. Spot on, we're aligned there." User Shadow Voice added, "You won't even try to fix it? Nailed it again. We're in sync." Thank you for reading. If you enjoyed this, please follow and enable notifications for more compelling real-life tales.